What's happening, everybody? Joelsuf coming your way. Been a while. I've decided to do wrestling related videos again. And so, I've been watching Parts Fun Known, which features Adam, Blompied, or Blompied, whatever his name is, from who used to be in What Culture. And he does fancy booking videos. And he did his own fancy booking on rebooking the Nexus, which today marks the 10-year anniversary of them making their debut, if you want to call it their debut or first appearance, in WWE. And I got the idea to celebrate this 10-year anniversary by doing a rebooking video series of my own involving the Nexus. And it's not going to be as, I don't have the editors and stuff like that, like What Culture or Parts Fun Known has. So it's not going to be that cool looking. It's going to be more like a presentation as I go kind of deal when it comes to this. So I don't know. It's not going to be like that, but it'll be a fun thing to watch or listen to anyways. So like I said, this is going to be 3 videos. I'm going to do them every Sunday, starting with tonight, with this Sunday, and then it will end on the 21st. Yeah. So next one will be the 14th. Next one will be the last one will be the 21st. So yeah. Okay. So, let me go ahead and first summarize what actually happened with Nexus, how WWE booked it. So they decided to get a whole bunch of new guys from their NXT program. They wanted to televise their developmental program. That was NXT, and they wanted to take that on the road. And so they had these 8 guys, I think. These 8 guys all in their developmental program. And they said, hey, let's have all of these guys, take over Raw. And, it was takeover before takeover. Now I got NXT takeover. And it's way better than the Nexus ever was. Let's have them raise hell, like their first appearance. I watched it last night just to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of it. It was really good. It was well done. It started with Wade Barrett, and Wade Barrett, he had, an interview, before Cena's match with CM Punk that night. And Barrett says, oh, you're going to see something that you've never seen ever before in wrestling. And it's going to lead to me winning the WWE title, which that never happened. And so they raised hell that night, and they took apart the ring like they were the ring crew. So they helped the ring crew out. But it arrived. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, okay, this is unsettling. You could see the fans, the heat was like the really good silent heat, that's the best kind of heat you could ever get. That's what every bad guy in wrestling wants, is that kind of heat. And then it just became Cena destroys Nexus. Throughout the summer, they were just trying to beat up John Cena. They were trying to make Sheamus join them, who was the WWE champion at the time, and he didn't. They beat up on Orton. Miz was, still a major player, and he was about to be because he won the Money in the Bank in 2010. I'm going to actually mention Miz a lot when I rebook, because he would have fit like a glove in the Nexus. Would have been perfect as a leader. And they beat up on Bret Hart a little bit. I remember that when they rammed him with a car or something. I'm going to mention that too. And on the 800th Raw, they beat up Vince McMahon. They beat up The Undertaker, that kind of stuff. But by the fall of 2010, things went south pretty quickly. They lost a match at SummerSlam, which was ridiculous, and John Cena himself regretted it. Edge didn't like the finish of that match. He mentioned that in a shoot interview months after. And by 2011, the Nexus was just it was just another bad guy group, and CM Punk joined them, and it became Straight Edge Society Light. And by early and mid 2011, the Nexus was just another group of bad guys. That's it, just another group of mid to low card bad guys that weren't really taken seriously, and they weren't taken seriously after the summer of 2010. That's a shame. Adam rebooks it in that the Nexus win at SummerSlam 2010, but that's about it, and it all dissolves after 2011 starts. My rebooking is going to last until... Alright, so my rebooking will last from the Nexus first appearance until Mania 20, well, not 37, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So, from the first appearance until WrestleMania 27. Then, after WrestleMania 27, the Nexus will be, well, you'll see. You'll see in part 3, okay? Part 1 is going to be, this part will have first appearance until SummerSlam 2010. Okay, so on June 7th, yeah. So on June 7th, Raw, that's when they first appeared. You're not going to see anything different. You're going to see a couple things maybe change. So the Nexus will appear like they did. Only the guest hosts, which were the new A-Team thing, I don't know, it was really weird, are found beat up in the back. And Hart is trying to find out who tries to find out who did it, but gets no answers. And then the Nexus arrive, they destroy everything, just like what actually happened. And on the TV shows, on both Raw and SmackDown, so we'll just go to the TV shows before Money in the Bank. Nexus just they just destroy everything. They raise hell and interrupt different matches and segments. And at this time, they're not really part of the Raw or SmackDown roster. They're just there. They just appear out of the crowd, or some of them even masquerade as security guards. Like, some of them actually wear the yellow CSC event staff shirts with other security guards, of course, next to them so that they can be replaced easily. But that kind of stuff. And you see that. You see that with all matches and all segments. And they don't discriminate. They attack good guys. They attack bad guys. They attack everything they can. And at Money in the Bank, Miz wins, but then Nexus surrounds him. But Nexus doesn't do anything. Nexus doesn't do anything. They just surround Miz and slowly clap. So they just kind of back off. They just kind of be like, they just do a little golf clap thing with the Miz. And Miz is like looking around. He's confused. He's like, uh-oh, these guys are going to come after me? Why are they going to come after me? And by this time, and this will happen at the Raw after McMahon says that Nexus can all enjoy a temporary contract because he doesn't want them to do what they were doing before Money in the Bank. What they were doing before Money in the Bank. So they can be in matches, segments, etc. until SummerSlam, and each one will have their job on the line in matches. And I believe that would be, I think that's right before the 800th episode, if I'm not mistaken. So, 800th episode of Raw, I'm gonna do something different, but yeah. So, and then, so in a different segment, so McMahon will walk up, he'll call the Nexus out, he'll be like, look guys, you can keep wrestling, but you have until SummerSlam to prove your worth here, to prove that you actually belong in WWE, that you can stop doing this underhanded nonsense and other stuff like that. And Barrett comes out. Well, Nexus come out, yeah. Nexus agree. McMahon leaves. And they call out Miz. Alright, so Barrett says to Miz that fans have never taken Miz seriously. And then he offers for Miz to join. So Barrett says, look, whether you were part of the tag team with Morrison or with the Big Show or whoever you had all kinds of titles. You had both tag team titles before they were unified. You had, which I don't think they were unified by this point either, were they? I don't remember. I don't know. 2010 was, I didn't like wrestling in 2010. It was awful. Okay. The Nexus was like the only good part of 2010. Everything else about the year was awful. Okay, it all sucked. With WWE and TNA, it was so bad. So I don't even remember like what was going on. I didn't even remember who the roster was. Like the people of the roster, I had no idea. I had to rewatch. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that Drew McIntyre was in WWE in 2010. I was like, I'm like, I thought I got fired before 2010. Apparently not. He's gonna be in Nexus. Just spoiler alert. You know, and Barrett says, look, Miz, like, no one's taking you seriously ever. The boys in the back haven't taken you seriously. You've been in this company for almost 5 years. And what have you shown for it? You've shown that you can win some titles. You can win the US title. You can win the tag team titles. But despite all that, you're not going to get taken seriously. And then Barrett says, well, guess what? We in the Nexus take you seriously. Well, you could have a different Nexus guy say that, actually. Or Daniel Bryan will say, hey, look, we had our issues in the past. We had our issues. We had our problems. But guess what? Like, I feel like you were my pro and I was your pro at certain times. And look, like, if you join us, not only will you be taken seriously, but you'll be able to guarantee that cashing in that Money in the Bank will get you the title because you're going to have 8 other guys around you when you cash in that Money in the Bank. And Bryan says, look, like, we had our differences, but let's settle our differences. Let's make this about not just The Miz, not just Daniel Bryan, not just Wade Barrett. Let's make it about the Nexus. Let's make a statement. And Miz, he stays as far away from the Nexus as possible. He's on the stage because he doesn't want to get in that ring because he knows what the Nexus will do. And the Miz just says, "I'll consider it. I'll think about it." And then he goes, "Well, what I'm not going to think about is," and Miz says, "Oh, you're wrong about one thing, and that's that this that's the chances of me winning the title if I have cash in the Money in the Bank. Trust me, when I cash in this Money in the Bank, I'm gonna win the title. I don't care who it's against. Cena, Orton, makes no difference." Back then it was either Cena or Orton or Sheamus. Cena, Orton, Sheamus makes no difference. If it's one of those three, or Edge, or whatever, makes no difference. I'm winning the title from them. It could even be on SmackDown against Jack Swagger. I forgot he had the freaking world title back then. Oh my god. Oh my god. Jack Swagger had the title in 2010. I'm going to change him too. Give him a facelift. And so Miz turns down the Nexus. So now on SmackDown, after Money in the Bank, Nexus does the same with Punk. They say, look, Punk, what happened on June 7th, that was just business. And we proved that was just business. We proved that was just us trying to make a statement because we didn't touch you after that. And it's true. Nexus, it's been about a month since Nexus made their first appearance. And they never mess with there are three people they never mess with. Sheamus, Miz, and CM Punk. They don't mess with those three. They interfere in everything else except those three. And so the Nexus says, "Hey, CM Punk, look. We take you seriously. We respect you and the straight edge society. We love the concept of the straight edge society. In fact, none of us do any drugs or anything like that either. We're all straight edge, just like you. And I think you need us more than we need you because you only have 3 people in the straight edge society. We have 8. How about we turn that 8 into 11 and call ourselves on the straight edge Nexus or something like that?" And Punk is a little different than Miz. Punk actually approaches them. Confronts Nexus and says he doesn't need and then the Nexus beat them up. Straight society. And they beat them up like badly. Like they do all kinds of crazy stuff. By the way, in their debut, I'm also gonna rebook the Nexus's first appearance. Like I liked it, but it needed to be more pronounced. And so, by the way, we're gonna not have Daniel Bryan choke Justin Roberts either, so he stays. That's why I mentioned him in the Raw after Money in the Bank. But I am gonna have like one dude hit like John Cena like with an unprotected chair shot and have him like get busted open, get cut open. I think that needs to happen in Nexus's first appearance, and we'll have like Mike Tarver do that or something like that. And so yeah. Alright, and now we come to Raw's 800th episode. Well, not 900, 800. This is where things are a little different than what has been booked. So it gets revealed. So by this time, Bret Hart is the GM, right? That Bret Hart is actually a sponsor of Nexus. Hart gets in the ring. He calls out McMahon. He says, "Why do you think these guys are just doing whatever they can? How come you were able to give them that temporary contract?" It's because guess what? It's because I hired them. I hired them all. As soon as you made me general manager, I didn't need Batista anymore. I didn't need him. So I told him to, wrestle in a match even though he was injured. I knew he was going to quit. I knew he was going to be one of the biggest threats to the Nexus. So as soon as he quit, I hired the Nexus because because 8 of the Nexus are worth 1 Batista when it comes to money. Batista wanted too much money, so I canned him. I fired his ass. And so I put in the Nexus in their place. And Hart goes on a big promo. He says, look, I've been wanting to do something like this to WWE for almost 15 years. Ever since you did me wrong at Survivor Series 1997. These fans may want to forget this, may want to forget it, but I won't. And that turns him heel. It turns him back. Because Bret Hart was wearing out his welcome after WrestleMania 26. No one wanted to see the guy. I didn't. And why did he even have a match at WrestleMania 26? And so Bret Hart even says that. He says, look, I never wanted a match against you at WrestleMania 26. I just wanted things to be made right. You didn't make it right by getting beat up by my family and having me pin you at WrestleMania 26. It's just a WrestleMania moment. That means nothing to me. You want to know what means something to me? What means something to me is changing the entire landscape of wrestling. And you see like a power-hungry Bret Hart here. He says, look, I want to make sure that WWE doesn't exist in 10 years. I want to make sure that it's gone in 10 years. I want to make sure that by 2020, we don't have a World Wrestling Entertainment. What we'll have is what he calls it the Nexus Stampede Wrestling. So he calls it after his stomping grounds and the organization that was founded by his father, and he throws Nexus in there. So NSW. He wants to have his own organization. Go up against and defeat. And that's all revealed. And McMahon goes, you know what? Let's do it. Have the entire Nexus against a lot of my guys, and let's put them all in a match, one-on-one, at SummerSlam. Not this whole major tag team clusterfuck. That was dumb. Okay, that was stupid. And I knew that Cena was going to win. I knew that Cena was going to get the pinfall, and I knew that was going to happen. Like, that's the second that match was made. So we're going to do things way differently, and I mentioned that earlier in SummerSlam. So yeah, and Bret, and then the Hart Dynasty come out. So Natalya and Tyson Kidd and Harry Smith, they all come out. And they beg Bret to not do this. And this is what really gets Bret heat. Bret says, I'm not even letting my family stop me. Then Nexus beats up the Hart. Okay, also, and then at the end of Raw 800, McMahon ends the brand split. He does this in like a backstage segment. He says to whoever's interviewing him, he says, look, I loved the idea of the brand split 8 years ago, but if Bret Hart wants to directly compete with me on my own TV shows, and since his contract for being general manager is ironclad, I can't do anything about it without paying him whatever kind of money to breach the contract. Similar to what happened in 1996, by the way, where McMahon had to breach the contract because he couldn't pay Brett that kind of money. It's the same thing that's happening here, only 15 years later. McMahon says, I'm going to have to end the brand split. Like, every performer is going to have to be on every show because the Nexus are a serious threat now. Like, I can't have this Nexus spread. It's going to be, if more people join the Nexus, then we really will have a WWE versus a NSW, a Nexus Stampede Wrestling, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. I don't think the fans want it to happen because the Nexus have been beating up a lot of guys who fans pay to see, and it's a very heartfelt little promo from McMahon, because McMahon can do that. He can sometimes be a good guy. So, okay. So now we're getting to TV shows before SummerSlam. So the Nexus are still just those 8 guys. Miz and Sheamus to join them. They are keeping Miz on the back burner, and Hart goes to the 8 guys. He says, "Look, Miz is gonna come around. Trust me. Trust me. When you get screwed over as much as someone like me, which is happening to Miz, even though Miz doesn't know it yet, trust me, he'll come our way." But then Brett goes, "Look, get Sheamus to join us. If you get Sheamus to join us, he has the WWE title. And fans don't like him either. They're not taking him seriously either, even though 09 was like his most dominant year. He came in like a house of fire and fans don't take him seriously. He's going to want to join us." And so at the end of one of Sheamus, so it says Sheamus has a non-title match. Wins it. Then Nexus circle the ring. And then Hart comes out. Says to Sheamus, "How would you like to He asks, "Hey Sheamus, look, you're a great champion." And then he goes, "How would you like to keep that title until your career ends, whenever you want it to end? Whether it's 1 year, 10 years, 15 years, whatever." Sheamus goes, "I would like that, fella." I don't know, I can't do his little thing. He goes, "I would like that. I would really like that, fella." Would be nice. Sheamus joins. Whoops. Now I think they were going to do this. They're actually going to do this, but because I do remember that Sheamus was dealing with the Nexus a little bit, and he was kind of he was kind of being okay and kind of nicer to the Nexus than everyone else. But he decided not to join them. He decided to fight against them at SummerSlam. But here I'm actually going to have Sheamus join Nexus. Okay? And the reason why that is because in my rebooking, I want Nexus to be taken way more seriously. So I want it to be comprised of guys who were not taken seriously in 2010. Guys like Sheamus, Miz, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, and other people like that. Because the original Nexus guys, all of them either got injured or they were too they were too much of a blue chipper to be part of Nexus. Like half of the Nexus were blue chippers, like Daniel Bryan, blue chipper. What's his name? Darren Young, blue chipper. What else? What's his face? Heath Slater, blue chipper. You know, Justin Gabriel, blue chipper. That's half of the Nexus. So those guys are going to be out by SummerSlam. A lot of the Nexus are going to be out. The original Nexus, a lot of them are going to be out by SummerSlam. But the Nexus is still going to remain because Bret Hart is still like the leader of Nexus. So there you go. And yeah, so now we have SummerSlam. Okay, so here are the matches. SummerSlam 2010 is not going to have that big tag team match. No. So WWE title is Cena. And we're not gonna do that fatal 4-way thing either. By the way, like that's not. It's my rebooking. We're not gonna have like a million pay-per-views. Just Money in the Bank and SummerSlam are gonna be the only two in this first phase of Nexus. Okay. Because seriously, man, like yeah. So we got Cena versus Sheamus, who's champion, versus Orton. And Orton defeats Cena to win the WWE title. And Sheamus does not come out with Nexus because Nexus has other matches. So we're going to have Jericho, actually we're just going to have here. And remember, all these Nexus guys have their contracts on the line, so Barrett would beat Jericho. Evan Bourne will defeat Justin Gabriel. Mark Henry will beat Ryback. And he's not going to be called Skip Sheffield here. He's going to be called Ryback. And Ryback got hurt, I believe, too, in late 2000 and after SummerSlam 2010. So he couldn't do anything. So I may as well just write him off TV by having Mark Henry beat him. And yeah, some of these are pros versus rookies, but I just don't remember exactly who the pros and stuff were in the original NXT. Like I forget who Justin Gabriel's pro is. I think it was Matt Hardy, but he already left before SummerSlam. And I forget who Ryback's manager was. I don't remember, and I don't really care. But I do know that Mark Henry is part of the roster, and I do know that Mark Henry versus Ryback would be a pretty goddamn good match. So that's why I have that there. So, yeah. All right. We have Ted DiBiase. Beat Mike Tarver. We got Daniel Bryan. We'll beat Zack Ryder. That would be a good match. I'd like to see that. And Edge is going to defeat David Otunga. He's going to squash David Otunga because, goddamn. And at the end of the show, after the... Oh, that's right. And we're going to have Rey Mysterio. There you go. Okay, cool. And then I don't know what the Intercontinental title. I don't know who had it at the time, and I don't really care. I think it was Cody Rhodes, or it may have actually been Drew McIntyre. But I don't really remember. And I don't really care. It's the same with the tag team in the U.S. The U.S. title. I think R-Truth had it, and he defended it against somebody. Again, I don't really know or care. To me, it's just going to be the world and WWE titles. That's all. That's all that this Nexus. That's all my rebooking of the Nexus is going to revolve around. It's not going to revolve around anything else. At the end of the show, Orton is celebrating, and Miz cashes in on Orton with Nexus help. So the Nexus will do the same thing to Randy Orton as they did to John Cena on June 7th. On June 7th Raw. So they destroy the ring. They beat up Randy Orton like crazy. You know, they beat him bloody, that kind of stuff. The announcers, you know, it's all done without announcing. The announcers run away just like on June 7th. And Bret Hart gets on the mic and he says, and it's with the guys who were not. It's with the guys who won their matches. The ones who didn't win their matches, they're not in WWE anymore. They just leave. So the surviving members of Nexus here are Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, and Sheamus. So it's those three and Bret Hart. And then Miz holds the arms of all the Nexus guys, cashes in the Money in the Bank, and wins it. And your new WWE champion is The Miz. And now there's 4 guys in the Nexus. You have Miz, you have Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, and Wade Barrett. And so that ends the first chapter of my rebooking of the Nexus. In the next chapter, I'm gonna cover SummerSlam, the Raw after, the TV shows after SummerSlam, all the way through Survivor Series. Actually, no, not even. I'm gonna go through the TV shows after SummerSlam. I'm gonna cover Survivor Series, and I'm gonna get all the way up until the end of 2010. And then the third part will have the beginning of 2011 until WrestleMania 27. Alright. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's not as cool as other fantasy booking videos have been probably, but I tried to make it as interesting as possible. If you like this, then you know what to do if you like this. Yeah. Alright. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. And enjoy in your house tonight. Peace.